yard punt.
There he caught the ball, kind of muffed it and went out of bounds. I don't know if he took a shot on the outside there after the play was over. Or...
A good angle kick on the part of Mark Royals. Paul Levine comes over to give us the call.
There was no foul. Number 25 of the kicking team went out of bounds. He came back in bounds, but did not touch the ball. There's no foul.
Thank you. So the officials get things straightened out. Brian Kelly was the man forced out. Comes back in, but is not the first man to touch the ball. Dallas on offense when we come back.
All right, tight end, eye backs. Short motion, you're thinking run.
Play fake, Quincy Carter under pressure. Trying to get away, they got him. Steve White, number 94, who has played both sides of the line, now in on the right side, replacing Simeon Rice. First sack of Quincy Carter in the game.
Now you look at the personnel groupings that come in and get out, and you make the switch. Out comes Alsherman Singleton. In comes the nickel man, Brian Kelly, because they've gone to a 3-wide receiver set in Dallas. So now you have second and 13. You see him spread out, 4 wide, shotgun, get upfield.
Carter by himself, the empty backfield. Quick outside to Joey Galloway. Picks up a block of Michael Wiley. Stays in bounds, gets up to the 34-yard line.
Smart play on behalf of Dallas, not putting the pressure on the kid to read the defense downfield, instead getting into a speedster's hand. Now you have a manageable down. Now you're about 3rd and 4, and you can, on offense, it's either run or pass. You can get there either way when it's a manageable 3rd down, and that creates problems for a defense. Defensively, you're thinking, well, they can do a few things. I got their personnel. Now let's take a look at how they line up in the formation.
5 defensive backs in for Tampa Bay, 3 wide receivers for Dallas.
No back in the backfield. You're thinking some kind of pass.
Everybody out. Carter throws, complete to Joey Galloway. First down across the 40-yard line. First 3rd down conversion of the game for Dallas. They're 1 for 8. Brian Kelly made the tackle.
Quincy Carter that time, a very nice throw. You see Galloway, he gets behind the linebacker and just stops right past the stick. He's inside of Nate Webster and in front of Brian Kelly. 1st and 10, eye back formation, 3 wide receivers, no tight end. 50-50 shot here. It could be run or pass.
Play fake. Carter looking, nobody open. Now he fires, incomplete. Fans wanted to call late flag. Late flag. Rondé Barber knocked down Joey Galloway. The crowd reacted, and then the official threw the flag. And now the discussion here. Was it tipped? Nope. They're ruling interference. Did Warren Sapp get a piece of this, Bill?
Well, you can't have pass interference if it was a tip ball.
Pass interference, number 20 on the defense, spot foul, 1st down.
Now that thing came out, the ball looked like a duck, but I don't know if Warren Sapp got a piece of it or not. The penalty is coming through the back of the receiver, and that is a penalty. That is pass interference. But the question is, did the ball get tipped? Did Steve White get a piece of that ball?
On 1st down, Evan Smith breaks through to the 30-yard line.
Wow.
His best run of the game. Rondé Barber took him down. 14-yard pickup for Emmett.
You know, a lot of the thought process is going into this game for Dallas. As you see it, once again, they attack the middle of that defense, right at the defensive tackles, right at Booger McFarland that time. A lot of the thought process was in this game for Dallas was if we get Tampa into the 4th quarter, we're going to take it to them. They get tired.
First down, Emmett is buried.
Oh, Warren Sapp didn't get tired that time.
Sapp and Lynch. No, that was Booger McFarland and John Lynch.
Booger McFarland came underneath Larry Allen. What I mean by underneath was he was lined up kind of on his head, and he's going to come up and under Stepnoski. And that was brutal.
Loss of 2 on the play.
Talk about durable. Emmitt Smith has been taking shots like that for a long time.
Blitz coming, play fake. Carter throws, tipped, and it is batted around and falls incomplete. Intended for Joey Galloway. Nate Webster got a piece of it.
He's been sailing the ball high all day, and that time he just didn't have enough over top of the linebacker.
Webster got up in the air. Good job by the second-year middle linebacker.
And he's realizing that Quincy Carter's realizing that these things happen in the NFL. For him, experience is a tough teacher because you get the test first, and then you get the experience after.
Big third down play. Have to get to the 20-yard line for a first down. Michael Wiley in the backfield. The Cowboys move too soon. Lozell Adams, the left tackle, lifted up. 78 on the offense. 76.
Prior to the snap, ball start, number 76 on the offense, 5-yard penalty, replay, third down.
Makes it even tougher on the rookie quarterback in the Dallas offense. Head coach Dave Campo in his second year.
Well, and that backs him up, too, out of field goal range, I believe. That was a tough penalty. You know, if you get a few yards, even if you don't get the first down from where you are at, you've still got a chance for 3.
Galloway and Robert Thomas come all the way to the right. Emmitt Smith in the backfield. Big toss out to Galloway. Nothing there. Donnie Abraham with the immediate hit, and the Cowboys are thrown back way out of field goal range. So a loss on the run by Emmett, and the penalty hurt, and a couple of good defensive plays by the Bucs.
And this is the area of the field and the time of the game that, heck, why not take a chance?
You think so?
Yeah, why not try your fake here?
All right. You have to get to the 20 for a first down.
But even if they give him the ball right there, it's not bad.
Mark running with 25, high snap. Dorr kicks it. Bounces down at the 10, rolls to the 1-yard line. Jason Bell is there.
Well, that was beautiful.
That's terrific coverage by the rookie out of UCLA. He's got great speed, and he got down it at the 1-yard line. Bell made this team with some fine special teams work in preseason. He got down there and got the ball. Now have the Bucs going from the 1-yard line. How do the Cowboys play it here, Bill?
Well, look at the time on the clock, Sam. The one thing they've got to do right here is blitz. Come after them, come now. And there they come.
Allstott straight ahead. Didn't get a thing. The Cowboys have all their timeouts remaining, and they used one to stop the clock. Boy, they are fired up. The Cowboys defense has done a great job.
You see them attack that line up front. Here comes the backers shooting gaps, blowing it up. Allstott gets drilled in the back.
Don't forget, immediately following this game, most of you will see the St. Louis Rams and the Philadelphia Eagles. That's a terrific matchup. You'll see that in the Dallas area. Adam Archuleta, first-round draft pick. Mark Fields, Aeneas Williams, new-look defense.
Same thing as Dallas has done. They've installed the Tampa defense up in St. Louis, too. And if that group up there is half as energetic and enthusiastic as this group here in Dallas is, that defense is going to turn around in a hurry in St. Louis.
2:09 to go. Tampa Bay leading 10-6. Second and 10 at their own 1-yard line. Carl Williams in motion.
Play
Off
action.
the play fake. Johnson being chased, throws it away, incomplete. Threw it low at Mike Allstott.
I had a sense they were going to go with the play action pass there and try to get out of the hole they were into. Smart play by Brad Johnson of getting out of that tight end box, getting rid of the ball.
But the incomplete pass stops the clock. And that benefits Dallas.
Inside of 2 minutes now, and as you said, everything now goes up to the replay booth, the official.
Cowboys defense, what do they look for here?
There's got to be a play pass again, and they're not going to buy themselves any room to punt.
No, it's Warwick Dunn. Squirms through to the 5-yard line, and that's all. We come to the 2-minute warning. The Cowboys will get the ball back.
Tampa Bay was just dead set that play on not getting the first down, but just giving them a little bit of breathing room so they can get the punt off.
2-minute warning, 10-6 Bucs. All right. The Cowboys exhorting their fans to make a lot of noise. Mark Royals is at just inside the end line.
And they have one guy out on each gunner, and that means when they do that, that they're lined up to come after the punter.
McGarity is on the Tampa Bay side of midfield for 45. Good snap. Royals gets it away. McGarity at the 49 brings it back inside the 40. Pounds the turf. He wanted a bigger return, but Dallas, with 2 timeouts remaining, has the ball at the 39-yard line of Tampa Bay. They must get a touchdown as they trail by 4. And the rookie Quincy Carter in his NFL debut has stayed calm, one of his goals.
Well, he's looked like a rookie for the most part of the day, except for that first time that he scrambled. His throws have been erratic, up and down, ugly looking, but you know what? You can throw all that out the window if you take this team in for a touchdown right now.
That's right. 3 wide receivers for Dallas. McGarity and Galloway to the left. Michael Wiley is in the backfield. Carter for Wiley over his head. Not a good throw.
No.
By Quincy Carter.
And it hasn't been, Sam. And one of the things they've worked on has been the mechanics. Wade Wilson has restructured everything he's done mechanically on his drops, his release, how he throws the ball. But it hasn't panned out today. Now, this week in practice, he was throwing a nice ball. He looked on, he looked accurate. But the anxiety and emotion, I think, has taken over, and his balls have been pretty bad for the most part.
Carter gets time, goes outside with a wobbler to Michael Wiley. And he is hit hard. Donnie Abraham got him first, and Derek Brooks finished him off.
Trying to signal a timeout. They haven't got it called yet. Now they get it. Looking downfield, throws the ball out to his check down, and Abraham's there, but then Brooks just cleans it all up.
They'll bring up a 3rd and long. Michael Wiley, the 3rd down back. Second-year man out of Ohio State. Derek Brooks had kind of a quiet game, but made an important play there.
Sometimes in the structure of a defense, you will have a quiet game. For instance, Warren Sapp hasn't been heard from much today.
Right.
And no sacks, and I don't remember him making any great tackles. Missed a couple, but look what they've done to Dallas's offense. I mean, that sometimes is the telltale sign.
Second game of our doubleheader is coming up next. Most of you will see St. Louis at Philadelphia. Some of you will see Atlanta at San Francisco. Emmitt Smith on the sideline on his 3rd down play. Dallas 1 for 9 on 3rd down conversions in the game. 3 wide receivers. Jackie Harris tight right end. Wiley in the backfield. Carter with time, throwing deep and incomplete. Rocket Ismail was Out there, double covered on the play. Dexter Jackson and Donnie Abraham with the coverage.
And that ball was well overthrown as well. And had that ball been thrown where it was supposed to have been thrown, a flag could have come out for pass interference. But since that ball had no chance of being caught by anybody, they wouldn't throw the flag. Dexter Jackson came and disrupted the path of the receiver. And if you disrupt the path of an offensive receiver, it's going to be pass interference. But that ball was thrown so high and out of bounds, nobody had a chance there.
4th down. They've got to get to the 29 for a first down. Here's the ball game right here with 1.5 minutes to go. Low snap. Carter's got it. He's looking. He fires deep, overthrows. It's intercepted by John Lynch. Lynch just runs around holding the ball and goes to the turf. And the Bucs defense comes through. The rookie Quincy Carter again with an errant throw. And the Cowboys will come up short.
Every one of his throws today, Sam, even though the snap was down around the feet, he had time to gather himself. Every one of his throws have been so high and so far above the target. He's lucky he didn't have more of them intercepted.
Second interception of the game for Tampa Bay. One thing about Quincy Carter, he does not lack for confidence. He knows there's going to be tough times, and Dave Campo, the head coach of the Cowboys, said they're sticking with Quincy Carter all the way.
Only 34 yards passing on the day. That's a tough go.
Well, the Buccaneers, once again, the defense comes through. They had the one touchdown drive in the second half after they trailed 6-3. And the final seconds will tick off. See the disappointment written on the face of Quincy Carter. The Cowboys will be at Detroit next week, and Tampa Bay will be home to Philadelphia.
Well, it's a gutsy move. It's a big gamble. It's one in which Jerry Jones, the owner, decided he wanted to take and wanted to find out by the end of the year what he has. And if he needs to make a decision to find a new quarterback next year, he will do that. But when you make that choice, you're free in your choice until the choice is made. Then once that choice is made, the choice controls the chooser. And right now, the choice has controlled the outcome of this game.
Don't forget, we've got the postgame coming up with JB, Terry, Howie, and Chris back in the studio. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers get off to the winning side, led by Brad Johnson. For Quincy Carter, disappointment on opening day. Gets acknowledgement from John Lynch. The Bucs have defeated the Cowboys 10-6. For Tampa Bay, their defense strong. Dallas, the big positive for them is they stayed in the ballgame with a revamped defense.
Oh, that to me is the most surprising. I expected to see them grind the ball out, using them at that big offensive line, even take some shots downfield and be successful with Joey Galloway. That didn't happen. But what did happen was on the other side of the ball, a defense that last year was horrible came out and had some big-time numbers. Tampa Bay, 73 yards rushing today. And that's a team that's relied for years on their ability to run the football with those two running backs.
But for the Bucs, the positive is when they needed the big drive to win the game, Brad Johnson helped lead that drive. Mike Ducey's down on the field with Warwick Dunn.
All right, guys, Warwick Dunn is with me. How'd you feel about your offense today? A new look, first time to see it in the regular season.
Well, we played how we played during the preseason, and that was up and down a little bit. And today it was good just to get a full game in to see where we're at right now. And we have to limit our mistakes, but a win is a win. You have to take it.
Last year you ran for 210 yards against this team. What was the difference today with your offense or their defense?
Their defense has gotten a lot better. Those guys are hustling to the ball. They have a mentality of not letting anyone run on them. And those guys did a good job of keeping me in. So I give those guys all the credit. I just want to try to get better.
What do you have to change offensively to do a better job in a much tougher ball game next week against the Eagles?
Limit our mistakes.
All right, Warwick Dunn, thank you very much. Back up to Sam.
Thanks, Mike. 22 carries, 58 yards for Warwick Dunn. Brad Johnson, 25 for 34, 195 yards. He had a 1-yard touchdown run. For Bill Moss, this is Sam Rosen. Now back to the studio to JB.
All right, Sam, thank you very much. Second half of our doubleheader, games in plus corner of the 82nd floor. I heard a noise like a sonic boom almost, and then a blast. The building swayed. We made it all the way downstairs. And then when we were just about to come out of the building, there was another blast, and all the lights went out, and this is what happened then.
Hey, Paul, we got a two-star general on board.
At the Pentagon, a stark, jagged reminder of a nation's vulnerability. A taste of the questions to come about how this could happen and what's now to be done.
I would tell you up front, I have no intentions of discussing today what comes next, but make no mistake about it, your armed forces are ready.
The number of potential suspects based on the complexity of this operation is relatively small, and I think we will soon be able to identify who the culprit is, but tonight is not the night.
In Kabul, the Afghani capital, fires, apparently bombings in the night, products of an ongoing civil war in a country that harbors terrorist millionaire Osama bin Laden. The ruling Taliban party's foreign minister denying, distancing from bin Laden.
Can you rule out any involvement by Osama bin Laden? Osama bin Laden lasciò no, up to now, no one has blamed or accused him formally.
Intelligence reports say communications to and from bin Laden increased dramatically after the attack. More than enough reason, analysts say, to keep bin Laden and his Afghani hosts high on the suspect list. Warren Elliott, Fox 13 News.
Some details on those intercepted communications, according to Utah Senator Orrin Hatch. Associates of bin Laden were overheard acknowledging that targets were hit. And law enforcement, Hatch says, have linked one person in one of the 4 doomed flights to bin Laden's terrorist organization.
So, who is this man, Osama bin Laden? U.S. officials say he is probably behind today's attacks, without a doubt. There is no
helicopter, and I looked up and I saw the second plane hit.
A second commercial plane, a United Airlines jet, also hijacked, carrying 65 people, plows into the South Tower.
First one we thought was an accident. When we heard there was a second one, we definitely thought it was terrorism.
On the ground, witnesses could not believe their eyes. 70 stories up with the building burning. Reason gave way to desperation. New York's bravest never had a chance.
We really never even got that close to the building. The explosion blew and it knocked everybody over.
Less than an hour later, the South Tower came crumbling down.
It collapsed. The top floors collapsed down. I saw it blow and then ran like hell. Thank God. I'm 69, but I can still run.
But it was far from over.
Tower 2 collapsed into Tower 1. Within minutes after that, we were ordered out.
When the dust settled, signs of life started to emerge.
Chaos. There's chaos out here, it really is. So the Twin Towers fall. It's amazing. It's crazy. Can't believe this shit is happening. I really can't. It's nightmares. Armageddon right here.
This was the worst act of terrorism on U.S. soil, but not the first attack on the World Trade Center. 8 years ago, terrorists set off bombs in the basement in an effort to take down the 2 towers. They failed. Today, mission accomplished.
I tell you what, it's a sad day for America. It really is.
By 2 o'clock this afternoon, firefighters and police officers and paramedics by the hundreds stood by, many of them feeling helpless. There was nothing they could do at this point because the building was still unsecured.
Our main priority is to get in, do a search and rescue, look for survivors, and then clean up what's left. And we can't do that until the building is deemed safe.
Ankle deep in debris and despair, rescue workers waited. Some had relatives of their own inside. One police officer told me her sister worked here on the 40th floor, due in at 9 a.m. She was always early, she said. Always. A sign on a paramedic's van spoke volumes.
We know we have some of the major brass of our department missing. We're trying to find them still.
New York Port Authority Police Chief William Hall choked back tears. For him, this was no longer just work.
On a personal level, because I know that these are all your men and it's a business, but I'm sure that a lot of these guys are your friends. How you holding up?
Business now, it's personal now.
Sir?
It's personal now. We have to get them.
Back alive here in Lower Manhattan, New York City's mayor announced a few minutes ago that 6 people have died at area hospitals. The New York City Policemen's Union says 87 police officers are missing. The New York City Fire Union says that 200 firefighters are dead. All of them in harm's way when this second tower collapsed this morning. At this hour, several buildings are still on fire behind me, about 3 blocks behind me over my shoulder. Rescue workers by the hundreds, policemen, firefighters, doctors, paramedics are all waiting, dressed, ready to go inside the building when the word comes. Dan, a short time ago, we felt a cool breeze here off the Hudson River. It was the first time since 8:48 this morning any of us have tasted fresh air. Dan.
Fire and pits on the scene as night deepens and the realization of the horror deepens here in New York City. 1 point for accuracy. Byron Pitts ticking off the facts about missing people, and I believe it was said that 200 firefighters are dead. The best available information, this is for precise accuracy in which we pride ourselves in here whenever possible, that a fire department union official said there may be 200 firemen dead. I know of no confirmed reports. In fact, I feel confident saying there are no confirmed reports of how many firemen are dead, but certainly some are, partly because they rushed to the scene of the first World Trade Center tower that was hit by a plane this morning, and then when the second one, incredibly, was hit, and the collapse of the buildings that followed, creating a version of Apocalypse Now in that portion of Manhattan. Many firemen unquestionably died, but the exact number is not known. Joining us now from Washington, D.C., the man who was until recently the U.S. Defense Secretary.
America's power. And we heard this boom, the building shook, the ceiling tiles fell out of the ceiling, and we ran out. We kind of dazed, grabbed our hard hats, ran out, and there was just smoke. People were screaming, "Run, what is it, what is it?" Let's roll! Get on the other side! As firefighters rushed to put out the flames, America learned that the Pentagon had indeed taken a direct hit, not from a corporate jet, but from another hijacked plane, American Airlines Flight 77, en route from Washington's Dulles Airport to Los Angeles. 58 passengers and 6 crew members were aboard. There may have been as many as 100 more people killed or injured inside the building. Dozens were rushed to area hospitals, yet to be accounted for, others that may still be left in the smoldering rubble.
Here in Washington, D.C., we are at threat condition Delta.
Washington, D.C., now in the crosshairs of terrorism. The military was ordered to its highest state of alert, and at the White House, the Secret Service received a credible threat of a terrorist act.
You've got to be off the ground and inside the building.
A fourth hijacked plane that crashed 80 miles outside Pittsburgh is believed to have been headed for an attack on Camp David, the presidential retreat in the mountains of Maryland. The president wasn't in town, but Vice President Cheney was. He and key aides were whisked out of the West Wing and into a secure location, while other White House staffers were evacuated under the watch of Secret Service agents armed with machine guns.
We've had some reports about intrusions of airspace, which caused us to be concerned enough to recess the House of Representatives subject to the call of the chair.
At the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue at the U.S. Capitol and Supreme Court, lawmakers and justices were forced from the seat of American democracy.
I think, in a sense, it is unfortunately a unique experience in American history.
And I characterize it as a man who lived through World War II as a young sailor at the end of the war. It's another Pearl Harbor for this country.
By 10 a.m., all federal offices were closed, sending the government's entire workforce into the clogged streets to try to make their way home. For tourists, museums and monuments were shut down as well. Washington was in a frenzy. Hospitals in emergency mode, roads shut down, bridges closed, fighter jets patrolling the skies. The mayor declared a state of emergency.
That all of our emergency agencies are fully deployed to meet any emergencies that might arise.
The Pentagon's functioning. It'll be in business tomorrow.
Later, Donald Rumsfeld, the Secretary of Defense, stepped up to the Pentagon podium to state the horrible truth everyone already knew.
There is no question but that the attack against the United States of America today was a vicious, well-coordinated, a massive attack against the United States of America.
What kind of world do we live in? This is terrible. It's just awful.
Tonight, Washington is a ghost town. This is the Memorial Bridge, normally crowded with traffic. Yet the attack has succeeded in shutting down the capital of the United States and left Americans wondering, how could it have happened in this of all cities?
The White House, the Capitol, and the Pentagon are symbols of America.
Counterterrorism forecaster Marvin Citron authored a report in 1994 for the Department of Defense, warning of Washington's vulnerability to terrorist attack.
We predicted a plane could have crashed into the Pentagon. That's about as specific as you can be. If you made a right turn at the Washington Monument, you could hit the Pentagon. A left turn, you could hit the White House.
He advised back in 1994 that air traffic be controlled over and around all federal buildings, but he says this recommendation was not implemented.
People are wondering today how the Pentagon, which is a symbol of America's military power, could be hit by a plane. How could that happen?
Because we're a free society. The balance you've got in the United States is access and freedom to complete security.
Despite heightened security after the Oklahoma City bombing and barriers at the White House, Citron says Washington became complacent about protecting itself.
We've let down. We strengthened ourselves during Oklahoma because the crisis was there. We were in a crisis mode. Once we get rid of that mode, we go back to laissez-faire.
But is it even possible to protect Washington, a symbol of democracy, but also the nucleus of the country's power?
You cannot defend against this kind of an attack. The Pentagon is just one more Washington office building. That's all it is. It's not a fortress.
Noel Cook is a former Pentagon counterterrorism chief. Just this June, he authored a report warning that an attack of this kind was imminent. Now he says the nation has to face the reality of terrorism in our own backyard.
What's emotionally gripping is the feeling that this thing has come home to roost in a major way. We are vulnerable in ways that we never were prepared to admit to ourselves, and we're going to have to cope with that.
Marvin Citron concurs. He predicts a city under siege.
I think people are going to be more looking around. It'll look more like Israel. The people there are accustomed to attacks from terrorists, and they're prepared, and they look for things. We'll do more of the same thing.
The first step for now, a show of determination by President Bush, who returned to the White House at the end of a tragic day, hoping to allay the fears of a stunned and terrified nation.
That's Nora O'Donnell, who covers Congress for NBC News and Washington in general. The D.C. Police Chief Charles Ramsey said tonight, nothing in Washington, D.C., your nation's capital, is likely to be the same again. That's the police chief of that city. But as far as security is concerned, there's no longer any such thing, he said, as business as usual. Already Pennsylvania Avenue in front of the White House had been closed down. There had been some talk about reopening that. That talk will disappear in a heartbeat as a result of this attack on the Pentagon today and the terrorist attack up here in New York City. What goes on in a cockpit when there's the kind of chaos that we witnessed here today? Well, someone who knows a lot about
how many trapped inside.
So start going to your trucks, make sure you got flashlights. If you don't have any lights, then let me know.
No! Then that tower collapses too.
And we had some time to get some of the people out, but then there was some secondary explosions and then subsequent collapses. So I don't know how many people were in there. I know there was a lot of firefighters, but public safety personnel were in there.
You call her and you tell her, let her hear your voice. She's going to need to hear your voice. Just like you need to hear my voice, I'm okay. I'm okay. Thank you. Bye. See you later. I love you.
All day long, more fallout.
Because it might be a bomb in the school, maybe.
A reported bomb threat. A dangerous gas leak.
This is Ed Sullivan. I want that building evacuated.
All civilians, please head north of Morris Street.
Then, a nearby building collapses from the day's damage.
You are watching Building 7 at the World Trade Center collapse.
Amid the destruction and devastation, though, one remarkable thing did happen. Today's tragedy brought out the best in a city not always known for its kindness and humanity.
3 hours after the attack, area residents have put out an open call for volunteers to search the rubble for any signs of possible survivors.
They're here to volunteer. They're a laborer, they're a plumber, they're an electrician, whatever they are. get to stay with you guys.
If
they're medical, they go across the street.
We're CPR and first aid trained. You're prepared to go into that rubble? Yeah, unfortunately we are. You know, whatever we can do to help out. I know there's not enough people in the city of New York to do it. I mean, it's a mess over there.
These volunteers say there is just one thing they want, something uniquely New York. Street justice, tough and immediate.
I hope they're sending planes over there right now. Take care of business.
The world was caught unprepared for what happened today, especially in New York City and especially among those coordinating rescue efforts. 60 Minutes' Leslie Stahl has that story. Leslie?
Dan, ever since the Cold War, the federal government has had an elaborate plan to keep the government running if the Soviets ever attacked Washington. Over a year ago, I spoke with then President Clinton's counterterrorism czar, Dick Clark, who has the same job today under President Bush. He told us that when the Cold War ended, they decided to hold on to that plan to keep the government running.
We thought that individual buildings in Washington, and indeed perhaps all of Washington, could still come under attack. Only it might not be from the former Soviet Union, it might not be with a missile flying over the poles, it might be with a terrorist walking a weapon into our city. And the city could still be attacked and put out of action. And therefore we have developed a new program so that the federal government's emergency capabilities will continue to operate even if Washington doesn't.
So, Central Command, of course, which controls all the forces in the Middle East. Very few people are being allowed on the base tonight. Let's join Fox 13's Jessica Yellen for the very latest. Jessica?
That's true, Kelly. They are being extremely cautious about who is let on. You can see the line of traffic here beside me because guards are going through each and every car that is being allowed on the base, and this backup has been like this throughout the day. There was an endless line of traffic waiting to get onto MacDill Air Force Base, but not everyone could.
He asked me where was I going. I said to the hospital to pick up my medicine. He said not today, the base is closed.
Even some of those already on the base were asked to leave. Mike Langer was doing maintenance work at Southern Command when he got an order.
Is that they're going to close the base down and that go on home.
For the guards monitoring the gates at MacDill, no precaution was too great. People that were granted access were ordered out of their cars so guards could inspect every inch, and for good reason. Central Command and Southern Command are both stationed here. They oversee special operations and U.S. military in the Middle East. This man's wife works for a key department. He couldn't get on the base, and his wife was asked not to leave.
The high echelon out of D.C. told them to stand fast because this is a critical situation where they would probably need to relay things to other parts of the world, and this is the main site.
All right, Kelly, John, you are looking at a live picture now of one of the vehicles that has stopped here. I will tell you that that truck has had its doors open for the last 7 minutes. They are being so careful about going through each car. They just don't care how long it takes. That's because this base is at what they call Force Protection Delta, their highest level of security. Only personnel assigned to MacDill and those who live here are allowed on. And we understand security will be at this level until further notice.
For a while, I'm sure. Thank you, Jessica.
So many people want to find a way to help the victims in New York and in Washington, whether it's by donating blood.
The idea that it would be far-fetched for him to have imported the type of expertise who could
New York, as that first plane, Flight 11, crash dived straight into the North Tower of the Trade Center, causing catastrophic loss of life.
It is hard.
Lower floors only 18 minutes later, just after 9, a stunned city sees the second United Airline plane swoop unerringly into the side of the South Tower.
Taking a look.
And there's more on the way. At 9:38, American Airlines Flight 77 crashes by the west wing of the Pentagon. A Boeing 757 with 64 aboard, it had taken off from Washington's Dulles Airport before swinging around to dive onto the very command center of America's military. Minute by minute, horrors mount. Just after 9:50, the unthinkable. Back in New York, the entire South Tower of the Trade Center collapses in monstrous avalanche of concrete and steel, bearing huge numbers of wounded and rescuers. One doctor on the scene, Mark Heath, has a video camera with him and captures moments at ground zero.
I hope I live. I hope I live. It's coming down on me. Here it comes. I'm getting behind a car. It's incredible. Okay, I'm gonna have to go find people who need help. Can I get a toot? I'm seeing a couple of clean breaths. That's good. Okay. Back to you. This is the car I hid behind. It saved my life. So wait, maybe it was this one. They say someone needs help.
Yeah, Mike! Hey, Mike! Hey, Mike, come over here! Yeah!
Anybody need a doctor?
Where are you?
Don't have oxygen.
Hello, Doc.
Hey, that guy needs some oxygen if someone can share it with him. 10-4. Thanks. They told me just to wait here. It's just a semi-staging area. See if I can help, and that's what I'm doing. They won't let me go any closer. No one can go in to get the people out. There's small explosions still going on. So far, I've seen some people who needed oxygen from the dust. No one trauma.
5 minutes later, an unprecedented fear sweeps Washington. 10:05, the U.S. government, now fearing an all-out attack, even evacuates the White House. Presidential staffers are moved quickly out of the very core of the nation's capital. Now, at 10:10, the fourth plane crashes. A United Airlines 757, Flight 93 from Newark to San Francisco with 45 aboard, suddenly disappears from the radar and disintegrates as it crashes near Johnstown, Pennsylvania. 15 minutes later, at 10:29, all U.S. civilian air travel goes to ground. International flights to the U.S. are diverted to Canada. Canadian airports start receiving scores of airliners that soon crowd the tarmacs. In New York, desperate attempts are being made to save those trapped in the remaining North Tower. Often, little can be done. Then at 10:29, the drumbeat of calamity reaches its peak. Incredibly, the North Tower of the Trade Center also collapses. In this aftermath, people scarcely believe their eyes. An event so threatening that shortly after 11 a.m., much of Manhattan is evacuated amid scenes that seem almost out of science fiction. As it absorbed a terrorist strike after strike this morning, the government of the United States went on a virtual war footing. The president even commanding for a time from a bunker prepared during the Cold War for nuclear combat. And probably not since Pearl Harbor has America felt more directly threatened or more fiercely determined to strike back. In just 2.5 hours, from that first takeoff in Boston to the collapse of the second tower, the United States and the world were changed in ways that are still uncounted and surely still incalculable. For The National, I'm Brian Stewart.
We go back to New York now, once again for that shot, the nighttime skyline shot of New York City, now minus the two towers at the World Trade Center. More reports coming out tonight now of people trapped in the rubble using cell phones to call family members, pleading with support and asking for rescue efforts, which are underway at this hour, but they're still fighting fires to get anywhere near the rubble. One man caught under the rubble used his cell phone to reach his family in Pennsylvania with a plea for help. His wife received a call from him saying he was still trapped under the World Trade Center. He gave specific directions and said he was there along with 2 New York City sergeants. Paramedics waiting to be sent into the rubble were told that once the smoke clears, it's going to be a massive body count. Emergency medical service worker Louis Garcia said initial reports indicated that bodies were buried beneath the 2 feet of soot on streets around the Twin Towers. Garcia, a 15-year veteran, said bodies are all over the place. So far, police officials say no people have been found alive, but they do say they have evidence, confirmed evidence, that there are people trapped under the rubble. So tonight, the rescue efforts continue in New York City. In this country, word of the attacks stopped Canadians in their tracks. They gathered in front of televisions in public areas. They got on their cell phones to let others know. They broke the news to strangers on the streets, and all the while they were trying to comprehend what they were seeing, what they were hearing. Norman Hermont now with the disbelief and horror felt throughout this country.
Across Canada, people watch the unthinkable unfold across the border. As news of the enormity of what happened sunk in, office towers in Toronto started to empty.
It's a terrible tragedy. We have someone there at the World Trade Center this morning at a conference, and we haven't heard from him.
It's scary. I'm scared, I'll be quite honest with you. And I just called my wife a few minutes ago and said we're heading home, and she's very happy about that.
No matter where people were, the reaction seemed to be the same. Disbelief.
It's like a movie. It's not real.
It's like you're watching a movie, you know?
It's insane. It's just like a movie. It isn't. It's actually surreal to me to see it on TV and see major buildings collapse.
For many people, there was sympathy for a country so tightly connected to Canada.
For all the people who have died, please bless them, Lord, and their families.
In Saskatoon, there were prayers from these students and questions about what comes next.
What's going to happen in the next week or 2 weeks? Like what the United States is going to do? What if people are actually going to admit that they were the ones who did it and why they did it?
In city after city, people were transfixed by what they were seeing. Some concerned events could now spin out of control.
President Bush is already saying that he's going to hunt down whoever's responsible. I don't know. I'm just scared that we're going to have to be on our way to war also.
Everywhere, there was a sense after today, the world may never be the same.
As of today, this will affect everybody around the whole entire world. No matter where you live in, what town you're in, it will affect you.
The question being asked more than any other, why?
I just wish there wasn't that hate. Because that's a problem.
The problem for many people now, dealing with the devastation so close to home. Norman Hermont, CBC News, Toronto.
The main attack.
I never believed that. He came a point in his life, in his career, like, man, if I don't...
on board that ill-fated aircraft, and with it, maybe some answers about what happened on board the airplane, and maybe some answers as to why this plane crashed here in this field instead of into another terrorist target. Now, Pennsylvania Governor Tom Ridge surveyed the area earlier today, calling on Pennsylvanians to offer prayer and cooperation. As night fell, we began to see trucks coming by with trailers loaded with equipment that looked like communications equipment and lighting equipment, obviously preparing for a lengthy investigation here. Bill?
All right, David, thank you. David Mattingly in Somerset County, Pennsylvania, southeast of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Throughout the evening here, the human face has been put on this tragedy in more ways than one. We're starting to get an idea of some of the people who were on board the various flights that took off today, a partial list of some of the better recognized names on board. David Angel and his wife Lynn from Pasadena, California. The executive producer of NBC's Frasier, Wings, and Cheers was on board one of those planes. Daniel Lewin, 31 years old, co-founder of Akamai Technologies. Garnett Bailey, his friends called him Ace, director of scouting for the L.A. Kings, the National Hockey League. Also Mark Davis, also a scout with the L.A. Kings. And throughout the night, you've heard the name Barbara Olson being mentioned several times, a frequent contributor to Larry King Live and CNN through her legal commentary. Outside of that, we're also starting to pick up different stories across the country, repercussions from this story, indication that some gas lines in different parts of the country are snaking more than an hour or more in length. Also an indication that some people are afraid of a supply disruption. Nothing confirmed on a disruption of supply, but as a result, some gas stations in Dallas, Texas, $5 a gallon. Indianapolis, $5 a gallon. Parts of Ohio, also $5 a gallon for gasoline at this point. Here in the state of Georgia, getting reports at various grocery stores and supermarkets that people flock to the groceries today, stocking up on water and canned goods. We don't say this out of fear or try to incite some sort of fear or worry or concern. It's just the reports we're getting from people and the way they are reacting to what we have seen now for the past 13 and a half hours, originating this morning about 9 a.m. Eastern time in New York City. Speaking of New York, back to Manhattan and Paula Zahn. Paula?
Thanks, Bill. I think people here are just beginning to grasp the sheer horror and the tragedy of the multiple attacks on this city today. Once again, the first hijacked jet is slamming into the World Trade Center about 8:45. The second attack about 18 minutes later. And one of the more chilling developments tonight, both the mayor of New York City and the police chief confirming they have reason to believe the people are still alive and trapped inside the wreckage of the two collapsed towers, as well as an adjoining building, Building 7, that made up a part of that World Trade complex. The firefighters union confirming tonight that 265 firefighters presumed dead. The police chief confirming tonight the city of New York lost its fire chief as well as its deputy fire chief, some 85 New York police officers missing. Some presume them to be dead. We know that in area hospitals, according to the mayor, some 600 patients or victims are now being treated. Part of the challenge in getting to what the mayor believes to be potential victims who may still be alive is the fact that there is a tremendous amount of smoke still billowing from the collapsed towers. There is still so much structural damage. They're fearful that rescuers could go in there and get injured again, as well as the fumes. It is not clear when any rescuers will be allowed to penetrate this perimeter area. The mayor confirming tonight that the fatalities will be horrendous. The numbers, he told us, will be, quote, very, very high. Right now, we are going to listen to Maria Hinojosa's report, who will give you a perspective on exactly what happened after these initial attacks and how New Yorkers reacted to them.
At ground zero, running in the streets is the only form of escape. But on those same streets, the chaos and vibrations couldn't be avoided. Further north, New Yorkers gathered at Times Square in humble silence and disbelief, everyone looking up to the big screen. Downtown, the mass exodus began.
I saw everybody crying in the streets, saying their prayers and crying. I saw different races, nationalities, and creeds that usually have differences with one another come together and bond and love and respect.
Along Fifth Avenue, people flooded to the streets to watch together.
Oh my God, it's inside the first building.
The faces of New Yorkers, solemn, quiet, praying. A father trying to give security to the innocent ones. The tiniest of faces, protected. Streets filled with anger and shock.
I have never witnessed nothing like this in my entire life. Human beings, parents,
daughters and sons jumping out of the window at least from 80-something floors. None of you want to witness that. I'm traumatized for life.
The street where now everyone shares the pain out in the open without shame. The street where office chairs have become eerie stretchers outside a hospital.
We've had multiple types of injuries, from severe burns to blunt injuries and multiple fractures.
The street where a depleted mayor summons some strength.
New York City is a lot stronger than this, and we're going to overcome it, and the people of New York City are going to give an example of how you stand up to terrorists. You just don't be afraid.
But Times Square is empty, the streets are silent, and the city mourns. Maria Hinojosa, CNN, New York.
And I think it is fair to say millions of people were in a state of shock today based on the conversations I've had with people who witnessed this attack. That state of shock is turning to outrage. Joining me right now is Scott Hess and Jennifer Ruth, both of whom were working in the area at the time. I should make it clear before we go any further, some 50,000 people worked in the World Trade Center area. You were not far from there. Both of you were evacuated from your workplaces. What did you see, Jennifer?
I work at the Three World Financial Center on the 35th floor, and my cubicle faces the World Trade Center, and we saw the hind end of something entering the building and the hole, the gaping hole through the building, and then the debris starting to fall. So we then evacuated and crossed the street and saw the second plane before it actually hit the building. And at that point, everyone panicked and screamed and started running north on West Side Highway.
Now, at that point, police obviously had not blocked off streets, so you were able to run as fast as you could.
Right.
What do you remember about what you saw earlier?
After we evacuated the building, the first tower was on fire, and we saw bodies either leaping or falling from the upper floors, and it was just a chilling scene. And a few minutes later, almost in a very surreal action, the second plane, and it actually, I could almost see that it was a United plane, I thought, just
that
smashed.
Actually has been confirmed
right,
this
it
evening.
smashed right into the building, and people were just screaming and crying, and it was just, the fire just, started to explode.
Some of the police officials have said tonight that they were surprised about how orderly the evacuations were, not only from your two buildings. You'd expect those to be more orderly than those of the World Trade Center bombings. But that isn't exactly what you experienced on the street.
There was a little more panic on the street. For the most part, things were fairly organized once we got up to the West Side Highway. But there was just people grieving and crying, and some of the schools were being evacuated. There's a bit of panic there. But overall, I think people just needed to get north and just get out of the area.
You saw, as you said, the first attack. You also saw the second plane slam into the South Tower. You heard the mayor tonight say that they have reason to believe that people are still alive in that wreckage. Are either one of you that optimistic based on what you saw? You were very close.
It was very close, but I couldn't see. But I left before I was able to escape the scene before the buildings actually fell. And so I don't know what it looked like after that point. People were still evacuating and had the opportunity to get out as I was getting out. So
most companies are advising people not to go to work tomorrow. All the public schools, private schools, parochial schools will be closed. As you wake up tomorrow morning, I'm sure you have no sense of what that day will be like that awaits you. But give us a preview of what you think it might be like.
Yeah, I mean, just walking down to getting off the subway and looking at the World Trade Center for basically the last 18 or 19 years, every day, it's just not there anymore. And walking up the West Side Highway, just turning around on a continuous basis, they were just not there anymore. And just seeing this bellowing smoke.
It is so eerie out there right now, and one of the things that I was impressed by the day is there was a plea made for people to donate blood. And I went late this morning to donate blood, and the lines were wrapped around the block, and I told at some hospitals there were 4- and 5-hour waits to donate blood. This does not surprise you, does it?
no, not at all. I mean, everyone has been so affected by this just immediately on the streets. As soon as I got home after the incident, everyone was glum and quiet on the streets. People stayed outside to see if they could get a view, but it was complete quiet.
Well, Jennifer and Steve, we appreciate your dropping by. We know that not only has this been a very traumatic day for you, but as Senator Warner said earlier today, one of the worst days in American history. You're very lucky to be alive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right now, we're going to check in with Rose Arce, who is one of our producers who has basically been
at Ground Zero most of the day. We find her right now at St. Vincent's Hospital, where several hundred people are being treated right now. Rose, give us an update if you would.
Yes, Paula, I'm actually right here on 8th Avenue, and right over my left shoulder, you would see the Twin Towers on any other night clearly, but tonight there's nothing. It's completely dark. I spent most of the day about 2 blocks from there on the top floor of a building that's just north of the World Trade Center. From there, we could see people rushing to the windows as fire was billowing out of the top of the building where the first airplane hit. People were rushing to the windows. They were taking clothes. One thing looked like a blanket that they were waving. And then suddenly there was an explosion, and you saw folks start to jump out the front window of the building and plunge. I saw at least 6 people do this. Folks were pushing each other. Some people were screaming for help and then just falling out. There was chaos on the ground. You could see emergency workers rushing to the scene of the building. Right now it's pretty quiet behind me, but this is an emergency route right over here, 8th Avenue. It's a straight shot from the World Trade Center uptown, and we've been watching emergency vehicles rushing right by us into the hospital that's right up the street. Paula?
Rose, I want to make a clarification now. The police chief earlier reported that they believe there were people alive, and most people interpreted that as alive in the wreckage of the World Trade Center. The police commissioner is issuing clarifications that says they believe there are people alive in nearby buildings downtown, not the Trade Center. Once again, neither officials at the Pentagon or officials here in the city can confirm the magnitude of the tragedy witnessed here in New York City and in Washington today, but once again, the mayor says the statistics will be horrendous and the number of deaths will be very, very high. It's time to go back to Washington now, and Wolf.
Thank you, Paula. We're getting some new information now from our Susan Candiotti in Miami. She's reporting that the FBI has begun the process, or will soon begin the process, of executing search warrants in more than one location in South Florida, including what she says are the homes and post office boxes of several individuals. This is in response, Susan Candiotti is reporting, to information gleaned from the investigation into today's terrorist attacks in New York and here in Washington. One source tells Susan this: we're looking at South Florida ties to some of the people we're looking at. That's because, she says, authorities are basing their investigation on the passenger manifest of these hijacked airliners, 4 of them today, and they're taking information from other sources as well. We'll be following this. One additional note, she says a search will also be done in Daytona, Florida. Susan Candiotti will be joining us shortly. I do want to report once again what she's saying, that the FBI has begun the process of search warrants in South Florida as well as Daytona. Susan is now on the phone with us. Susan, tell us, give us a perspective. What exactly do you know is going on?
It's my understanding, according to a law enforcement source, Wolf, that the FBI is in the process of executing search warrants. That is to say, in the process of putting the paperwork together. The execution of them may not begin until the morning or early morning hours. What they are going to be executing these search warrants are homes, as well as some may only be post office boxes, I am told. They are basing the information on the request for a search warrant on information coming from passenger manifests of the aircraft involved, among other information they have by talking to various other sources.
Tom, the latest figures from Arlington firefighters, who are really in charge of the firefighting and rescue efforts here, an estimated 800 killed.
But if so, he has moved his operations to a level that this is the most
likely to feel that their own safety and the safety of those.
We didn't even do as much, the United States didn't do as much damage to the Iraqis as they had originally anticipated. Concerned about future terrorist attacks here? Back to the poll very briefly. 2 more questions, Sandy. Concerned about future terrorist attacks here? 87% of the people we asked said yes. Seems like a sensible answer given what's happened today, and 12% said no. And worried? And this is where we've talked extensively today, or not extensively, but occasionally, about the effect on the national psychology. Are you worried, or someone you or someone close to you may be victimized? And 47% said yes, and 52% said no. So that's what we find in an early poll from our polling institute today, asking those very obvious questions in the wake of these attacks in New York and outside Washington today. Those voices from the street are very, very important. And here's Charlie Gibson with a report on them.
All emergency workers around the city are on call. There is mayhem and chaos, people running everywhere. A clear late summer day turns into what feels like a nuclear winter. People are caught in the tower, hanging out of windows, some jumping 80 floors to their deaths, others hoping, praying to be rescued. As men and women head down, trying to flee the building, firefighters are racing up to do their job, only to become the first victims. Then, incredibly, Tower 1 comes tumbling, cascading down. Some of the emergency workers who managed to make it out need to be treated themselves. Fire union officials say of the first 400 firefighters on the scene, 200 are missing, probably killed. Meanwhile, there are reports at the White House that the Pentagon has been hit. A spokesman for the Pentagon said he had no firm number of casualties as firefighters struggled to contain the blaze. At 10:30 Eastern Time, the second World Trade Center tower collapses. And minutes later, a full-scale state of emergency is declared in New York.
The effort now has to be to save as many people as possible.
Police officers do everything they can to evacuate downtown Manhattan. The scene quickly turns to triage. Initial reports say at least 2,100 people have been injured, 600 of them taken to hospitals by mid-afternoon, 5 dead on arrival. 1,500 more walking wounded were taken across New York Harbor to New Jersey's Liberty State Park, and dozens of ambulances raced there as well. Meanwhile, uptown, hundreds turned out to give blood, some waiting 2 or 3 hours at blood donation centers. And then late afternoon, 5 p.m., still another building collapses. 7 World Trade Center, ruined by falling debris from the Twin Towers. But overall, there are some stories of lives saved.
As we came downstairs, we were just dragging people along with us.
At the Pentagon, workers continued through the early evening to contain the fire and smoke, but can't get to ground zero, where officials fear many are dead, including the passengers and crew from the American Airlines plane. One of those known passengers was Barbara Olson, the wife of the Solicitor General of the United States, Ted Olson. At this hour, where the World Trade Center once stood, casualties are expected to be overall in the thousands.
Mrs. Olson, who is widely known to viewers of cable and to network television around the country, is the only, to the best of my knowledge, the only person who we have publicly identified today who has been killed. And that, of course, is because, as Charlie Gibson has pointed out before, Mrs. Olson was in contact with her husband, the Solicitor General of the United States, while she was on a plane that had been taken over by terrorists. But as we heard from Mayor Giuliani earlier, and we heard from Governor Pataki, in part because, excuse me just one second, okay, in part because New York State and New York City have offices in the trade towers, and because Mayor Giuliani simply knows so many people in New York City, they know that friends and associates have been killed, and people in many, many parts of the country, without any doubt, know people who have worked in the trade towers or had offices in trade towers. And it is those people sitting on the edges of their seats tonight, perhaps desperately trying to get through to those government hotlines, which we put up on several occasions, that we will put up again as the evening ensues, desperately trying to seek information. And we don't have any in a personal way yet. The hospitals in Lower Manhattan have been to some extent overwhelmed. You see these scenes on the street as well as we do, and so you can appreciate just how enormously difficult it is at the moment to get to the point of identifying people on the ground. It has been easier and desperately sad for people who knew other people traveling on the 4 aircraft that were involved in these incidents today, because there are passenger manifestos. And we know that the airlines have, over the years, improved tremendously their capacity to get in touch.
You guys going in? Yeah. Come with you. But I don't want to get too much closer, because the more buildings that come down, then we're not going to help anybody. All right. I think we should. Yeah. Where's the incident come out? Let's just. Yeah. Okay. Let's just wait right here. Yeah. We just heard another explosion. They're handing out gloves and masks. The consensus is it's too unsafe to go in there. Just going to wait here until they bring some people out.
Those images won't leave us anytime soon.
No. They're indelibly marked in everybody's mind who's watched any TV today. President Bush and his team of advisors are working late into the night on this crisis.
Fox's Mike Emanuel is live in Washington, D.C. tonight with the very latest on what's happening there. Mike?
Well, Kelly and John, Washington, D.C. is transformed into a war zone. Political leaders tonight are trying to calm anxious Americans. The symbol of America's military strength, the Pentagon, takes a direct hit from an act of terrorism, a commercial jet crashing into America's military brain trust. It's too early to know the number of dead and wounded. The president is promising punishment for those responsible for these terrorist acts.
I've directed the full resources of our intelligence and law enforcement communities to find those responsible and to bring them to justice. We will make no distinction between the terrorists who committed these acts and those who harbored them.
Officials say the U.S. military is ready to act when it's necessary.
But make no mistake about it, your armed forces are ready.
The attack on the Pentagon leads to evacuation from the White House and the U.S. Capitol. Much of the federal government is shut down. Commercial flights are canceled. Defense officials say despite the damage to the Pentagon, it is still functioning. Hours after the attack, the thoughts and prayers of many are focusing on the thousands of victims.
Tonight I ask for your prayers for all those who grieve, for the children whose worlds have been shattered, for all whose sense of safety and security has been threatened.
Retaliated so far for the terrorist attacks. The military is on high alert, watching the skies over Washington tonight. The fire at the Pentagon still burns. John and Kelly, back to you.
Mike, you know, the precision with which this was carried out is just incredible when you think of the World Trade Center towers being so tall and the Pentagon being relatively short. It just took amazing intricacy by the pilot, presumably a terrorist who flew that plane into the Pentagon.
Well, that's correct, John, and we're starting to hear some staggering figures in terms of the possible dead at the Pentagon. A fire official from a local area here estimating as many as 800 people may have died in the Pentagon in that plane crash. Just a stunning number, especially if you think about it back to the Oklahoma City bombing, 168 people killed there. We're talking 800 people at the Pentagon, possibly, if that number is accurate. And then you're talking about so many more in New York. It's really unbelievable.
It's hard to even think about. They said that part of the Pentagon was under renovation at the time.
Yeah, Kelly, relatively, they're saying we were lucky that that's a relatively unoccupied part of the Pentagon. Imagine if it had been the most sensitive area of the Pentagon, or the most populated area of the Pentagon, rather. It might have been even worse, perhaps, but just a difficult day to fathom here in Washington, D.C. Officials here saying they're going to get back to work as soon as possible, trying to make it look like things are getting back to normal, but a lot of people are going to have a hard time getting back to normal.
All right, Mike, thank you very much.
Sure.
You bet. Well, it's been a day. I wrote down some figures I want to pass along to you. 8:45 a.m. when the first hijacked jetliner hit the World Trade Center. 266, the total killed on the 4 hijacked planes. 800 that you just heard Mike Emanuel report, possibly dead at the Pentagon. 10,000, the number of people possibly dead at the World Trade Center, including 255 firefighters. And this one, September 11th, 2001. A little bit of every one of us, every single American died today because lives were changed forever.
That's true. The New York Stock Exchange will be closed tomorrow. We've learned that Japan's index plunged on the opening bell this morning when it happened, and Europe's markets are lower too. State government offices will be open as normal. Jeb Bush said he wanted everything to be normal tomorrow.
Fox News coverage continues here on Fox 13. Good day, Tampa Bay, with all the latest from Fox 13 here in the morning. Good night.
Good night.
Now that we're down there, a Red Cross escaped.
This is Fox News coverage. Terrorism hits America. 2 planes hit the World Trade Center towers.
Attacks which began at the World Trade Center and reached all the way to Washington, D.C. We have learned that the Justice Department has one of the passenger manifests, and a search warrant has been issued for someone in the state of Florida, possibly Daytona. We'll have more on that later. We're also beginning to learn the victims' names. One is a flight attendant from Fort Myers. Cece Lyles was on board the Boeing 757, which crashed southeast of Pittsburgh. Also on board, the executive producer of the hit sitcom Frasier. And federal investigators believe the worst terrorist attack in U.S. history may be linked to Osama bin Laden. No doubt this investigation will take months, if not years, to finish. The most crucial information possibly learned in the next couple of days. John Berman joins us live from New York with the latest.
Behind me, the smoke is still rising from where the World Trade Center once stood. At the Pentagon in Washington, we have just learned as many as 800 people could be dead. It is just some of the carnage in what has become one of America's worst days. September 11th will be known as the day that the face of America changed forever. But with the Pentagon still burning, President Bush told the world that the spirit of America will not be shaken.
These acts shatter steel, but they cannot dent the steel of American resolve.
The president, who had a whirlwind day that took him to secured sites in Louisiana and Nebraska, made clear that the U.S. is committed to finding anyone involved in any way to these attacks.
I've directed the full resources of our intelligence and law enforcement communities to find those responsible and to bring them to justice. We will make no distinction between the terrorists who committed these acts and those who harbor them.
The nightmare began just before 9 a.m. American Flight 11, a Boeing 767 from Boston to Los Angeles, crashed into one of the twin towers of the World Trade Center. Then, 10 minutes later, the second plane, a United flight also from Boston to Los Angeles, crashed into the second tower. The twin towers, a symbol of American economic power, stood wounded in the morning sky. Then, they stood no more.
A huge explosion now, raining debris on all of us. We better get out of the way!
Just after 10 o'clock, as thousands of terrified people watched from the streets, the South Tower collapsed. 20 minutes later, the second tower came down.
Oh my God, there it goes!
All of a sudden I heard rumbling and we all started running away from it. The glass blew out and threw me onto the sidewalk, and I couldn't see for 20 seconds.
As New York was struck by tragedy, so too was the nation's capital. Another plane crashed into the Pentagon. Later, part of the building collapsed. And in western Pennsylvania, a fourth plane, a United Airlines flight from Newark to San Francisco, went down in a field. The flights were all hijacked. Officials say they were taken by people wielding knives. Several passengers on these flights were able to place cell phone calls to authorities and loved ones, describing the situation before they went down. The casualties from the disaster are not yet known, but they are believed to be in the thousands. Many firefighters and police who rushed to the World Trade Center after the first crash are missing. Rescue officials have begun to receive calls from people still alive, trapped in the rubble. New York's mayor, Rudy Giuliani, has closed Lower Manhattan tomorrow to give the rescue effort the space it needs. The rest of the city will be open, but the mayor has asked people to stay home if they can. It will be some time before this city, which is called the capital of the world, returns to normal or anything close. This is John Berman live in New York. Now back to you.
All right, thank you, John, for that live report. Again, John Berman reporting from New York City. That estimate of 800 dead in the Pentagon hits like a blow and is just the beginning of what we're going to hear perhaps in the coming days.
We have gotten no numbers yet from the World Trade Center area, and there's just no telling what that's going to be.
Despite the numbers, we're talking about individuals, and we are learning more about some of the casualties.
In fact, one person, a flight attendant, called Fort Myers home. Cece Lyles was on board the United Airlines Flight 93. That was the Boeing 757 that was en route from Newark to San Francisco, and it crashed about 80 miles east of Pittsburgh. Lyle's husband is a Fort Myers police officer. The couple lived in Lee County for about 8 months. As we said earlier, there are reports that one of the passenger manifests has been obtained.
And a search warrant has been issued, at least one of them in Florida. CNN says possibly Daytona. Mr. Oscar Westerfield is here, the former special agent in charge of the Tampa FBI office up until a few years ago. Mr. Westerfield, what do you make of that latest development, that a search warrant has been issued specifically in Florida?
That's good information in terms of the investigation going forward. More than likely, when the manifest was obtained, and as they went down through the list of who was on the plane, they matched information with something perhaps already had relating to terrorist activities. That would give them cause to go for an affidavit for a search warrant and get a search warrant issued by a federal judge.
So we're talking about what, searching maybe somebody's house or apartment there? Is that what you think what they're looking at?
It can be a house, apartment, a business. They would be looking for any kind of information that would relate to any terrorist activities, telephone records, written notes, conversations, anything that might indicate that this individual was involved in the...
Should come as no big surprise, because in the initial 1993 bombing of the World Trade Center, many of the operatives were in New Jersey planning this attack out and carrying it out.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. How important are those cell phone calls, two that we know of, that came in from passengers who were on those hijacked planes, who called to relatives and told them what was happening, and they said they're using knives? How important are those calls to this investigation?
Critical. We have to assume that not every piece of information on those calls was released to the press or the public.
In fact, they've acknowledged that.
Probably the information relating to identities, particularly the race or national origin of these individuals, which I haven't seen in any of the newscasts I've seen all day, was held back. And that is very critical also in developing leads to go forward with the investigation.
In one case, I know that I believe the flight attendant called and gave the exact seat number of the person who was involved in the hijacking. And of course, who knows what identity they gave, but gave the seat number.
Chances are it was probably a false identity, but there's a good chance. I mean, they go back, interview the people at the ticket counters as to if they remembered any particular person that might have had a particular trait or accent or anything of that nature.
Thank you, Oscar Westerfield, former FBI agent in Tampa. Thanks for that information.
Thank you.
The president addressed the nation tonight at 8:30, and among the millions who tuned in were some of the most patriotic Americans. 28 Tampa Bay's Bob Kendrick was at the American Legion Post 138 in Port Tampa for a veteran's viewpoint on today's events.
Perhaps no one is prouder of America and what it stands for than a veteran. And tonight, many of them came to this post to rally around each other and the president.
Terrorist attacks can shake the foundations of our biggest buildings, but they cannot touch the foundation of America.
As Mr. Bush spoke, those who had once been the foundation of our military were still rock solid in their resolve.
The United States military is going to back him up 100%.
Now, with a new enemy to fight, veterans think today may bring an end to America's military downsizing.
I think everybody will rally, and there will be a build-up, hopefully, again, and America will become strong again.
None of us will ever forget this day. Yet we go forward to defend freedom and all that is good and just in our world.
The president's implication that this is a new day that will live in infamy. But if, in fact, it does surpass Pearl Harbor as our darkest hour, veterans here are keenly aware of why.
That was an attack on a military base. This is an attack on civilians. This is definitely an attack of cowardice, and justice should be served.
But there is no doubt here that this, like the events 60 years ago, will shape America in a new way.
Pearl Harbor lost their innocence as far as being an isolated country, and then I think America thinks they were isolated against terrorism. That's not the case.
Inside are veterans of World War II, Vietnam, the Gulf War, the Beirut bombing, people who have been on the front lines of some of America's most painful moments. Tonight, from a distance, they watch perhaps its most painful. In Port Tampa, I'm Bob Kendrick reporting. Now back to you.
Thank you, Bob. There are many stranded passengers tonight holed up in Tampa hotels. Along with the rest of us, they watched President Bush address the nation. 28 Tampa Bay's Kelly Swoop joins us live now from Tampa International Airport. Kelly, with all the flights grounded until at least noon tomorrow, I'm sure there are perhaps hundreds of people that are in Tampa that wish they were somewhere else.
That's right, Brendan. We had a chance to catch up with some of those stranded passengers here at the airport. They got a chance to watch the president. Quite frankly, not a whole lot else going on at the airport other than some construction. You can see it's deserted. Basically, nothing's taking place here because the airport has been shut down for the majority of the day. The passengers say they're basically hoping and praying that things will return to normal tomorrow. Bob Austin spent the night at TIA practically alone. He caught up on the events of today's terrorist attack, but he was supposed to be at home in Providence.
Hopefully I'll be home in my comfortable bed tomorrow night and have a nice meal, and this will just be another episode. That's what life's made of, little episodes, but this one here was a little worse than most.
The airport was practically a ghost town. The FAA has grounded all flights until at least noon tomorrow, and security remains tight tonight. But the scene and mood were much different earlier in the day. News spread quickly of the attack on U.S. soil.
It just makes me real nervous, and my wife just called me and told me quiet.
My husband called and said, well, they've just bombed the World Trade Center. And I'm like, this is insane. This is crazy. How do these people do this sort of thing?
Stranded passengers who found more comfortable accommodations at the Marriott at the airport were very eager to hear what President Bush had to say tonight.
The functions of our government continue without interruption.
That he's going to take some type of action, but he's basically just summarized it by saying that we're going to fight against the evil the best way we can and all, but we already know that. Maybe, I don't know, maybe he should take action as soon as possible.
Now, until the FAA makes that determination tomorrow, many of those passengers say they're going to have to keep checking with the airlines to determine if their flights have been rescheduled or not, so they're still going to be stranded here. So not a whole lot going on here tonight, and possibly not even after noon tomorrow. There's nothing set in stone. And actually here at the airport say they have been surprised by the outpouring of support they've received from the community. People actually calling here, offering up their homes in terms of transportation and also their homes to house people that were stranded because of this terrible, tragic situation in New York and Washington, D.C.
Thanks, Kelly. I'm sure everybody's willing to put up with a little inconvenience when you compare it to the grief that other families are going through. Well, once airports around the country were shut down, dozens of international flights still up in the air were diverted to Canada. United Airlines Flight 876 was en route from Tokyo to an unknown U.S. city when it was told to land in the Canadian Northwest Territories. This was the first time in U.S. history the nation's entire air traffic system was forced to shut down.
And many found comfort in their religion today as they tried to comprehend the incomprehensible. 28 Tampa Bay's Doug Smith joins us now from South Tampa with more on that. Doug?
Well, Marty, the president called for Americans to pray tonight, and that's what a lot of people here in the Tampa Bay area did. They prayed at this Catholic church in South Tampa. Worshipers came in here for about 5 hours, a steady stream of them. It is impossible to make sense of a senseless act.
The situation is just too big to understand by yourself. And the only thing that I know that's bigger is God. And
people came to Tampa's Christ the King Catholic Church for comfort.
I wanted my children to know that at a time like this, when you don't quite know what physically to do, that, you know, you get on your knees and pray and ask God's guidance.
Members of Tampa Bay's Jewish community who gathered tonight also found power and peace in prayer.
That as a family, we needed to be here this evening. We're all grieving. This is a terrible tragedy we've suffered today in our country. And one of the ways we express hope for the future is coming together as a community.
People need God. People need faith. Especially when there's so much chaos, and we really can't make sense of what's happening.
Worshippers at the Islamic Society of the Tampa Bay area also say they can't make sense of what happened. The director describes the mood among Muslims as tense.
We consider that what they've done is anti-Islamic as far as their behavior. This is more the act of people who are under the influence of the devil rather than the influence of God.
There will be many more special religious services tomorrow. For a lot of people, this is just the beginning of the healing process. Of course, a lot are still in shock tonight, walking around in shock, so the healing can't even begin. Marty?
Yes, you're right about that, Doug. This is just the beginning. Brendan?
Governor Jeb Bush is asking Floridians to help out in this time of crisis. The governor addressed the state shortly after 3 o'clock this afternoon.
I ask every Floridian who has ever prayed to pray tonight. Pray for the victims of this cowardly attack and their loved ones. Pray for the missing and the loved ones holding vigil between hope and despair. Pray for the emergency workers.
Mr. Bush also asked that Floridians donate blood if they can and fly the American flag. Bay Area residents answered Jeb's call tonight on Dale Mabry near Columbus Avenue. We saw about a dozen flags flying in honor of the Americans killed and hurt today. As you can see, most of them were flying at half-staff.
Florida is also answering the very desperate call for blood donations. One United Way spokesperson says South Florida now faces a blood shortage of its own because virtually all of its blood has been sent north, and that's what they're going to do here. 28 Tampa Bay's Tracy Severson has that story.
Tom Bradley saw the attacks and thought he'd lost friends in New York. He rushed to give blood before work. 8 hours later, he was still waiting.
After almost 8 hours, they told me we were closed and we weren't going to give blood anymore, and I was going to be sent home without being able to help, without being able to do my part, and possibly losing my job.
Bradley made the cutoff, but April Thrynan had to tell hundreds to come back tomorrow.
It's heart-wrenching because of the way that the people have been coming out from the community. They're coming out with flags, and they're coming out and they're crying, and they're coming out and they're devastated, and they're coming out because they want to donate blood.
After the blood is screened, about 750 donations will make up a shortage here in the Bay. The rest will be sent to New York. For many of the donors, this was the only way they knew how to deal with the devastation.
It made me feel good about being here, that I was helping out, that I was making a difference.
Well, it was sort of a feeling of camaraderie.
If you ask Tom Bradley, it was worth the wait. And there will be 13 blood mobiles stationed between here at Legends Field and also at Tropicana Field, open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Most area hospitals can also accept your donations. Back to you.
All right, that's terrific, Tracy. They will also be driving that blood up north if necessary if the airports continue to remain closed for a while. Today's attack has created fear that there may be a shortage in the nation's gasoline supply. In Omaha, Nebraska tonight, fuel prices suddenly skyrocketed from $1.69 a gallon to $3.99 a gallon. And we found no such dramatic increases here in the Bay Area, though.
MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa is on heightened security alert. Only military personnel with Defense Department-issued IDs are allowed on the base. Armed guards thoroughly inspected each car coming into MacDill today. Non-military were turned away at the gate.
There's also stepped-up security near the Port of Tampa tonight. 28 Tampa Bay's John Thomas joins us live from there now. And, John, what kind of precautions are they taking there?
Well, they're watching this area very closely, everyone from the Coast Guard to TPD. And take a look right now. That's the Tampa Police Department Marine Unit right now getting set to go out. Now, if you're thinking of jumping in your boat and cruising this area, forget about it. It is not going to happen. The port remains open, but security has been tightened as the Coast Guard, Florida Marine Patrol, Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, and the Tampa Police Department's Marine Unit patrol the area.
What's the protocol if you come across someone that you're not sure about? What are you guys going to do?
Well, we'll stop and check anything that looks suspicious. We'll stop them and check them.
Tampa is the 12th busiest port in the nation. Its cargo includes everything from phosphates to the people who board the cruise ships.
Just stay out of the port area for right now. Private recreational boats, go ahead and just avoid the port area. The river's still open. The open bay is still open in a lot of places to have a good time out there. But right now in the port area, because of the heightened security and the concerns, it's probably not a good place to come.
At the cruise line terminal, security has been stepped up. This is normally a place people go to forget their problems. The images of today's tragedy, though, make that impossible. Now, they will not tell me how many units they have out here. I do know these guys are working 12-hour shifts. They're going to be here 24 hours a day until further notice. As for the port, it is business as usual. The cruise lines, there is no cruise ship scheduled to come back tonight or tomorrow. The Jubilee, a Carnival cruise line, is scheduled to come back Thursday, and that is still expected. Marty?
All right, thank you, John. Well, the image of the assault on the World Trade Center will really be forever etched in our minds.
It's this video, which as many times as we see it, still seems like an explosion scripted and carried out by Hollywood. In reality, a camera on the ground caught the horrific sight of that second plane crashing into the 110-story building.
For at least 2 Bay Area families, today's blasts are hitting especially close to home. They have loved ones who work at the World Trade Center. As 28 Tampa Bay's Serena Fazan reports, fate stepped in to keep them alive.
Until 1 o'clock today, Janet Taylor Pope wasn't sure if her daughter was alive. Margaret is a student in New York and a part-time waitress at a restaurant in the World Trade Center.
But you didn't find that out until
minutes ago when she called.
Tell me what you've been going through this morning, ma'am.
Hell. Hell.
In a bizarre twist of fate, Margaret apparently tripped earlier this week and broke her 2 toes. That's why she couldn't work. But the 24-year-old told her mother she saw the planes crash into the building from her apartment just blocks away.
Margaret said that she was on the terrace having breakfast. She heard lots of explosion and saw lots of smoke, and covered the area. Debris even was flying on the terraces, buildings. She went up to the roof and she said she can't breathe.
Janet Pope doesn't know this man, Charles Hale, but both their children were spared today. In another twist of fate, Jason Hale changed his routine.
He had decided to go to work, late today for some unknown reason, and that was certainly the hand of God that was on him to protect him.
Because it's nearly impossible to get through to New York, these parents for hours had no idea if their children survived. But today, in the midst of unspeakable tragedy, they know somehow their children were spared.
I love him, that I'd love to see him, I'd love to hug him, I'd love to kiss him. I remember the day he was born, and seems like yesterday. It's 29 years later, but he's still my baby.
Serena Fazan, 28, Tampa Bay News.
And every parent can relate to that. Charles Hale's daughter also had to evacuate from her building today. She works for the federal government in Philadelphia.
During our earlier newscast today, we had the opportunity to speak with Dr. Jim Harf. He's a terrorism expert and a professor of world affairs at the University of Tampa. He shared his thoughts on what happens now and how might the U.S. react.
We have been reactive to terrorist acts, not proactive. Someone commits a terrorist act, we catch them, and we deal with it. I think we're going to have to move in the direction of the Israelis and search out those potential terrorists and deal with it before these events happen.
How might life for us change in the coming months as a result of this?
Well, it won't be business as usual, which is one of the goals of terrorist activities. We will see heightened security at the places where we normally see security. We're going to see security measures expanded to ball games, for example, large stadia. We're going to see much more difficulty in people moving in and out of the country.
Are we at war? And if we are, with who?
We are at war. The problem is there's no return address. The bombs were delivered, but there's no return address. So first we have to find that out. But make no mistake about it, we are at war. You remember during Desert Storm, we were not physically attacked, and yet Americans proudly wore those sweaters, shirts with the American flag on.
And so how different is this from the Persian Gulf War? You know, when we were in the Persian Gulf War, there was such a high priority on making sure, we didn't lose anybody. We don't want to lose anybody, but it's a new ball game today.
It's a new ball game. The nationalism then pales in comparison to what we're going to see now. We'll take risks now to solve this problem.
We saw a video from CNN and ABC of explosions in Kabul. If indeed Osama bin Laden, the terrorist who's been harbored by that country, was behind this, don't you think he fully expected some retaliation pretty quickly?
Well, I would hope so. It seems to me that perhaps these explosions are interrupting a celebration. Because somewhere in the world, as we sit here, the ultimate perpetrators of this action are celebrating their undreamed of success today.
And that was Dr. Jim Harf, University of Tampa terrorism expert. From the time it became apparent that the U.S. had been attacked by terrorists, the business day took a 180-degree turn for local law enforcement and businesses that have direct connections with New York's financial district. Shortly after the 2 hijacked jets crashed into the World Trade Center, Tampa Police headquarters was locked down. SWAT team members armed with assault weapons stood watch at TPD, which was suddenly locked and patrolled. Mounted police were on alert at Gaslight Square. At the federal building, marshals checked cars for bombs. By the afternoon, the federal courthouse had closed for the day. Local schools stayed open, but some parents pulled their children out.
We don't know where the next target is. I believe that maybe public buildings might become a target.
The Chase Manhattan offices in West Tampa also locked down. Only employees with company ID got in or out. And those inside were thinking about colleagues in New York, some of whom work at the World Trade Center.
So when I got into work, I came in the back way, and I was going to get on the elevator, and there's like all these people, like 7 or 8 people, just standing there watching TV, crying.
MetLife Insurance Company has offices near the World Trade Center. The flag outside MetLife today was lowered to half staff. Both the Firemen's Fund in Tampa and Raymond James Financial of St. Petersburg have colleagues in or near the Trade Center, but it is believed that all of them escaped injury today.
Several theme parks also shut down today, including Busch Gardens. The park closed at about 1 o'clock this afternoon. Refunds and readmissions were offered to guests. Most people were pretty sympathetic and understood why park officials made the decision to close for the day. The park will be open tomorrow morning at 10. Also, shortly after the attacks, Disney World announced to visitors that the park would close immediately. Guests inside all Disney parks, shopping centers, recreation centers, and golf courses were asked to leave. The parks, though, are expected to open tomorrow. And we've been in touch with the local post offices. A spokesperson from the airport post office says there is heightened security there, but they are still open 24 hours a day as usual. Some mail that's normally flown to its destination, though, is now being loaded up and delivered by truck until the ban on flights is lifted. And here's a look now at the planes that were hijacked and crashed today.
American Airlines Flight 11 left Boston and was heading to Los Angeles when it slammed into the World Trade Center at 8:45 this morning. 92 people were on board.
United Airlines Flight 175 from Boston to Los Angeles was carrying 65 people. It crashed into the other tower of the World Trade Center shortly after 9 a.m.
American Airlines Flight 77 en route from Dulles Airport near Washington was also bound for L.A. when it hit the Pentagon about 9:40 a.m. That plane was carrying 64 people.
And United Airlines Flight 93 took off from Newark, New Jersey, bound for San Francisco when it crashed southeast of Pittsburgh, about 80 miles from Pittsburgh around 10 a.m. The Marine Corps believes it may have been meant to hit Camp David, about 85 miles away from it, where it actually crashed. 45 passengers and crew were on board that flight. All of today's events were met with shock at Tampa's City Hall. Just after the attacks, we spoke with Tampa Mayor Dick Greco and Police Chief Benny Holder.
And what we've basically said is that we don't want to alarm people, but this is a shock to the people of this city, to the people of this country. And everyone's glued to television sets. Many people have left. They just feel so horrible about what's going on that voluntarily we've said that those that want to go home can, and most especially those in the downtown area and West Shore where there are high-rise buildings who may have some apprehensions, although we have no reason to believe anything's going to happen here. Let them go and mourn in their own way today.
Heightened security. Certain areas that we think that may be vulnerable, we definitely have increased security. But the main thing, we just want to reassure the public that we'll have that security and their safety is our first concern. And also, we want to make sure that the public themselves, that if they see something out of the ordinary, they just feel that something's just not right. Don't hesitate to call the law enforcement.
That was Tampa Police Chief Benny Holder and Tampa Mayor Dick Greco. Two specially trained dogs and their Tampa Fire Rescue handlers are heading to New York City tonight. The dogs, Jesse and Marley, will help search for victims in the rubble of the World Trade Center building there.
We're going to get in there, we're going to work our hardest to hope that we can save someone. If there is deceased, which there will be, I'm sure, Jesse is trained to find them, and we will bring closure to them and their families.
The Tampa Fire Rescue dogs and their two handlers are part of a 7-dog handler FEMA team from Florida that is headed for New York City. And in no time at all today, the day's tragic events were immortalized in print. These really came out early this afternoon.
It's true. It's the sort of event today that you really are in no danger of exaggerating when you talk about the superlatives of today. And I think even this enormous print here almost understates the gravity of what we went through today. But these are editions that people tend to hold on to as a reminder of this day. And of course, I think everybody will remember where they were and what they were doing when the news first came in just before 9 o'clock.
That's right. It was like November 22nd, 1963. And just 9 hours after the attacks in this country, explosions could be heard north of the Afghanistan capital of Kabul. Federal authorities believe Afghanistan's Taliban rulers have given asylum to terrorist Osama bin Laden. He is, of course, a suspect in today's attack, but the U.S. denies any involvement in today's explosions there.
As most of you know, President Bush started his morning in Sarasota. He was set to talk about education at Booker Elementary School. He made a brief appearance, called for a moment of silence when he got the news, and then quickly left. Air Force One then took off from the Sarasota-Bradenton Airport just before 10 o'clock. For security reasons, he flew to a military base in Louisiana, then to Nebraska to a secure area before finally returning to Washington, D.C. tonight. And George Bush left behind a somber group of teachers and students at that school, Emma E. Booker Elementary.
28 Tampa Bay's Laura McElroy was there when the president delivered his very short speech.
The president was supposed to be here for an upbeat, positive visit to promote education and to applaud the students at this school for the improvements they've made in reading. Instead, he stopped in for a quick visit to see some of the students and to address dozens of reporters and the nation about this Black Day. The chief of staff kept the president up to date by whispering in his ear as George W. Bush joined a second-grade class to carry on with today's reading program. But moments later, his remarks only focused on the national disaster.
Terrorism against our nation will not stand. And now, if you join me in a moment of silence. May God bless the victims, their families, and America.
The president only spoke for a few short moments and then left Sarasota. A crowd of excited teachers and students were just glad the president still stopped by their school despite the tragedy.
He could have decided to go back to D.C. right then, but he came in at least to greet the kids outside and to speak to us personally, so it still doesn't overshadow it.
I thought he really loved and cared about what happened because he just wanted to go and take care of a lot of business.
The lieutenant governor and the secretary of education took over and finished the ceremonies for the president. Another note worth mentioning, many of the network reporters who traditionally cover the president were grounded here when all airline travel was grounded. So their buses and the reporters are stuck here in Sarasota. Back to you.
So I guess they'll have to drive back home. On the lighter side, we want to take a moment now to look ahead at tomorrow's weather.
28 meteorologist Dan Schaefer's here with that. Dan.
All right, thanks very much, guys. Take a look at what's happening right now. 28 storm tracker showing just a few light scattered showers out there. Most of the activity into central and eastern sections of Polk County. You can see the showers right along Highway 27 continuing to move to the west. They shouldn't last too much longer. A lot of this instability due to a new tropical depression, which was just upgraded by the National Hurricane Center at 5 o'clock tonight. Take a look at it. Tropical depression number 8, actually, is located just off the southwest coast of Florida. You can see the spin in the clouds there. Here are the latest stats for you. Movement is to the west-southwest at 5, 30-mile-an-hour maximum sustained winds. We do expect this to develop, though, over the warm Gulf waters into our next named storm, Gabrielle. And landfall could be late this week or this weekend around the Big Bend of Florida, north of the Tampa Bay area. We'll, of course, keep a close eye on that for you. Your forecast, meantime, calling for plenty of shower activity right through the rest of the week. Temperatures will be in the 80s with the clouds and the rain tomorrow. Back to you.
Well, we don't need Gabrielle. Thank you, Dan. Well, it will be some time before the full impact of what we've seen really sinks in. I think we're all stunned.
There's a strong sense that life after today in this country will never be quite the same again.
They removed the other passengers and took them away, and the 3 of us have been on the aircraft since then.
We've been hijacked, and we've been bombed.
Struck each building of the World
But
Trade
we
Center.
never imagined the two could be combined with such deadly effect.
One at a time from different parts of the building. I just started seeing the people just drop and drop.
In Washington, the 5-sided heart of America's war machine was breached so easily, the soldiers dying at their desks.
And I have no intentions of discussing today what comes next, but make no mistake about it, your armed forces are ready.
Our leaders refuse to call it a war, but they know it is. A strange war with shadowy, suicidal agents on one side, bankers, secretaries, bike messengers on the other. On television sets across the country, the rest of us watched. We saw our wives, husbands, our children. We saw ourselves in those fleeing crowds. And we asked questions. Is it bigger than Pearl Harbor? We want a number. 1,000, 10,000, more? How can we honor and avenge our dead if they can't be counted? But the really hard question is this. Where was God from 8:48 to 10 o'clock this morning? And so we pray and sing, waiting for the answer to come.
That was Congress that gathered this afternoon.
That's right.
Early this
for strength
evening.
and solidarity. I also want to mention that I think it's important that we all remember the children who may not react to what happened today, but they feel things very, very deeply, and they need to have their questions answered and be reassured that essentially we still are safe in this country.
That's right. They see us reacting. They need to know. And, of course, we'll continue to monitor this situation overnight.
We'll be back here live at 5 a.m. with all the information you need to follow these events. We'll be camped out at Tampa International Airport, where all the flights continue to be grounded as well. Thanks for watching.
We'll go back now to ABC. Have a good evening. Be safe.
This is an ABC News special report.
As we said before, the entire day has been a special report on ABC News, and if you've managed to get your hands on a newspaper in various parts of the country today, you know that your local newspaper has devoted a huge amount of attention to this, and not only in the cities where this occurred, but in Pennsylvania, where one of the aircraft went down, and in every city and community across the country, how the country was itself involved. We are, those of us who are working in newsrooms and conveying information, are isolated in the same way that you are, and we do our best in the course of this day to get you close to what has happened and help all of us get closer to understanding why this has happened and what the United States intends to do about it, first in simple terms of responding before the world to the action which is taken against the country today, and what the United States might do if and or when it is able to discover those people who are responsible for this, those individuals, whether members of an organization, and perhaps that state or states, which if you listen to Larry Eagleburger, former senior official at the State Department and in the White House for many years,
we'll just keep working on it. I have a number I'd like to give. We haven't been able to make any contact with the family. Still unsure of the situation. So the number for the families who haven't spoken to their loved one in the course of this whole horrible day, if they call this number, we'll at least tell them that that this is a person that's missing, or that we have had some contact with this person. The number would be 718-999-2541 is the number that we'll be using at Fire Department headquarters. It's just for firefighters. Just for firefighters, firefighters and fire officers, EMS personnel. I would we'll man those numbers. That number will roll over to 10 lines, and we'll be able to just try to give them some information. We don't have a lot, so that's why we haven't been calling them like we would normally do.
What about the top members of your staff?
I'm sorry.
Note, this gentleman says that some 300 New York City firefighters are missing. We pick it up live again now.
I don't know what to say. We lost people that have given over 40 years. Commissioner Feehan has had every job in the department. Probably the most valuable person in the department. When I got this job, Mayor and Commissioner Safer said, make sure you keep Bill Feehan. Haven't regretted that one day. He's given a whole life to this department. Chief Gansey, the same thing. Chief of Department, 33 years, 34 years. Ray Downey, we just honored him with a dinner. Almost 40 years of service. World renowned for situations like this. Telling me how dangerous it was when we first got there. All the possibilities, everything that he was trying to do to, get the people out. Father Judge, I don't know if you know Father Judge, one of the nicest men you could possibly find in the whole world. We haven't found other people yet either. I don't even want to mention their names. Some of the best people in this department. I can't find anybody from 5 rescues and 7 squads. And it's just, it's a devastating thing. I don't know, well, the fire department will recover, but I don't know how.
Commissioner Garrick, in the police department, do you have any idea how many people you're looking for at this time right now?
The number we're looking for is in excess of 32, 33 people. That's what we know as of right now. And for the members, for the family members of the police department, if they have questions or they need to contact us regarding their family members, they can call 718-677-8238. It's the Special Operations Division, and we'll be able to help them as much as possible.
Deborah Fair.
How close are rescue teams able to get to the scene? Assuming there are people who are there.
The rescue teams are able to get very close now. It was very difficult during the day, but in most places they now can operate. There's still a few dangerous areas, but they're able to operate. They're able to operate down there now.
And are there pockets where people maybe?
Yes, we're very hopeful that there are pockets where there are people, not only the ones that we know about, but hopefully others. A group of firefighters were at St. Vincent's Hospital that were in a void for 4 or 5 hours, and we're hopeful that there are other situations like that. And that's why our rescue workers are working so furiously.
How big a group was that there?
That was a company. It was a group.
Company survived?
No, it was about 7.
Yeah, it's 5 guys and most.
5 guys
6.
survived.
Six men.
This was earlier today. They were in I believe one World Trade Center, and the firefighter described to me that they were there for about 4 or 5 hours, and when they walked out, they were shocked to see that the building had come down, because they knew there had been damage, but they had been in a void, so they had been protected.
What unit are we talking about?
I'm not sure.
I forget.
We'll find out for you.
I think I remember, but I don't know.
Can you just tell us again about the 2 Port Authority police officers, how they were found, their condition?
No, the only thing we know is that they were found a while ago, that they're alive, and we'll get you more information about their condition.
And since we're talking about the Port Authority, I guess it's a reasonable assumption there's a large number of Port Authority police officers missing as well.
I'm sure there are. We don't have those exact numbers, as well as
from the chief of detectives. He's reached out to.
All right, that's Mayor Rudy Giuliani and police and rescue officials. He did confirm what we'd heard earlier, that there are a couple hundred firemen and policemen that are missing in that rubble, and probably thousands who are in the building.
At this point, how much of the 2 buildings were evacuated in that period of time between the first
round?
Took the opportunity to lecture the United States.
From an opponent's worst nightmare.
Tim and Andrew Gilbert. They're both missing. We haven't heard from either one of them. We've tried all the hospitals. We haven't heard anything.
Tim and Andrew Gilbert brothers?
They're both brothers. Yeah, they work on the top of each other. Tim was wearing casual dress. He had a Rolex watch on, a silver cross, and a gold wedding band. And I'm sure that Andrew was probably dressed casually also. Tim is 35 years old, brown hair, blue eyes, 5'11", 190 pounds. Andrew's 39 years old, 5'11", 190 pounds, brown hair, blue eyes, and has glasses. Tim has 4 babies at home, and Andrew has 2, and we just want them to come home. Please call Jackie Gilbert at 908-439-0129. 908-439-0129. We just want them to come home or hear something, just anything. Thank you.
This is what happens when the world gets crazy and all these innocent people minding their own business, doing their job. All these kids have no more fathers. Their families are shot for no reason at all. They had nothing to do with anything that was going on. That's the shame of it. That's all I can say.
Dan, I've been around a long time, but the level of grief here is just unimaginable. If anyone has any information about the employees of Cantor Fitzgerald, please contact authorities, because these families are desperate for news.
Harold Dow, with loved ones trying to keep hope alive. Some of the first on the scene of the attack yesterday were New York rescue workers, firemen, policemen, and tonight scores of them are among the missing. Carol Maureen has been looking into that. Carol?
Dan, we've spent this day traveling across the city, checking in at firehouses and with firefighters who've spent yet another day at ground zero. What we found, despite an incomprehensible level of loss, is a kind of spirit and determination that's hard to describe. What we also found was an army of volunteers at their side.
We're conducting a recovery day.
Where's Stu? Find him down there.
When a firefighter takes this job, he accepts certain realities of going where other people will not go.
Right, refuse to go. The old saying, everybody else is running out and you're running in.
Fran Cheney is a volunteer firefighter from Bucs County, Pennsylvania. Yesterday, he drove to New York City to volunteer once more, in a city where he does not live, for a department where he does not serve. Isn't there ever a part of you, a piece of a firefighter that says, I've got a wife, I've got a family, I've got kids?
Absolutely not, because when you walk into a firehouse, at that minute, the guys that you're with, they're now your wives, your mothers, they're your family, your brothers, they're now your family.
Since yesterday, James McGinnis has been a volunteer at Ground Zero.
We just left and they were pulling out about, pulled out about 5 or 6 bodies about an hour ago.
McGinnis is an emergency room nurse by profession, but the reason he came here is personal.
Well, I came down because I lost my brother in this.
Your brother was in the trade center?
My brother was on the 92nd floor.
Can you process that? I mean, can you?
No. They took my brother from me. It's not something I'm dealing with yet.
There is every reason for these volunteers to have stayed away. The devastation and the danger and the despair. Yet hundreds, probably thousands, have made their way to the same place where hundreds of New York City firefighters already have lost their lives. Fire Commissioner Tom Van Essen spoke about them late last night.
We've got over 300 people that are missing that we can't account for. We believe that many of them are gone.
This afternoon, New York Fire Captain Joe Cunningham was back on the job. Does it ever make you, or does it now make you question doing what you do for a living?
You know, you have to. This is what you signed up to do, so you have to do it. You know, these are my friends in here. A lot of these guys that are missing, I personally know for years, and their families are there, and I know if the situation was reversed, they would be here for me right now.
A firefighter named Salidas was also doing it today.
Best job going.
There are people who'd wonder if you could possibly mean that today.
I mean it more than ever today.
And today, with the loss of hundreds of brothers, the family draws its strength from each other and the ones who came before.
My father's a fire captain in Philadelphia, 39 years.
So it's in the family?
Follow his footsteps.
And it's in the blood?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. So I looked at my father for 39 years. There's my hero.
Fewer and fewer firefighters today were willing or able to talk with us. As the day wore on, Dan, it almost seemed as though in order to keep doing this kind of work, they were making a choice. In order to tear through the wreckage of what was the trade center, in order to protect what there is left to protect, this wrenching work that they're doing would have to be, at least for a time, their voice.
Carol, what a moving piece. And it's a reminder, you and I have covered the police beat, covered City Hall, and know, but I question whether very many people know what a strong bond there is between firemen and their families and firemen everywhere. It's a unique brotherhood. Yes, that people feel especially attached to family and church, but beyond that, I don't know of a stronger bond than the one among firemen, and they rarely really talk about it.
They rarely talk about it. Their work does their talking. It's the exceptional fireman who does not have another relative, blood relative, in the fire department.
Carol Moraine, thanks. Let's go to the Capitol now and our chief Washington correspondent, Bob Schieffer. Bob?
To the conversation from Capitol Hill, Republican Congressman J.C. Watts of Oklahoma. Congressman Watts, for your information, serves on the Armed Services Committee, and he's also a member of the House Military Readiness Subcommittee and the Special Oversight Panel on Terrorism. Very lengthy, but he should have some good information. Also with us from D.C. is Democratic Congressman Gary Ackerman of New York. He's a senior member of the House International Relations Committee. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Congressman Watts, I'm going to start with you. Since you serve on the subcommittee that is related to terrorism, what information are you getting about specific links to Osama bin Laden, beyond what we're hearing now about names on the manifest? Do you have anything more than that?
Well, I've actually, I don't serve on a subcommittee on terrorism. I've actually been one of the people that's kind of led the charge to say that we need to create a select committee concerning domestic terrorism to figure out ways to respond and things of that nature. But being on the Armed Services Committee, we have gotten briefings. I've been a part of probably 5 or 6 briefings over the last 36 hours. There are suspicions out there that we all have. All of those suspicions we're trying to confirm those suspicions. We've got all of our eyes and ears in the right places. And I do think, I can't put a time frame on it, but I do think that we're getting very close from the information that I've received, getting very close to, I think, confirming who we might be able to target for this dastardly deed.
Congressman Ackerman, your intelligence that you're getting, does that include not only Afghanistan, but Pakistan as well?
Well, Pakistan is one of the countries that recognizes the Taliban. It's one of 3 countries in the whole world that recognizes that as a legitimate government, and we're very concerned about that. And I think one of the things that we should be doing, being that we believe to a large extent, and waiting for all the dots to be connected, that Osama bin Laden's DNA is all over this kind of a project, because that seems to be his style. And he simultaneously took out several U.S. embassies not too very long ago and has threatened to do this kind of carnage. I think we should be demanding of those countries that give safe harbor to him and to his forces that we put them at risk the same way we will put him at risk if it pans out that he is indeed responsible for this action.
You know, we knew the last time, right after he struck last time, somehow we bombed a medicine factory. I mean, what can we do about this guy? This is the most powerful nation in the world, and he just keeps getting us over and over again.
Well, we're gonna have to beef up our intelligence. We know his general address. He may not be home right now, but we know the places that he hangs out, and I think that we have to make it as difficult as possible for him. And he has to know, and he has to have known this before, that we are going to do everything we can to hunt him down.
Well, we're continuing to look at live pictures from Lower Manhattan as the workers continue to search for anyone who might be in there alive still. They only pulled out 9 people alive today. The hopes are they'll be able to do better. But we're now reporting that a source with the New York Port Authority is telling Fox News that the casualty count expected to be more than 20,000 in the 2 towers of the World Trade Center, and in the mall beneath those structures, some 10,000. Former Police Commissioner Howard Safer is with us here in Studio B. Commissioner, more than 30,000 dead in Lower Manhattan is just, it's unthinkable.
It's staggering, and it's just hard to fathom.
Commissioner, I would imagine that you have an awful lot of friends who are involved in this effort, and perhaps, I don't know, some who may be missing.
There are many of my friends who are missing. Unfortunately, there are a number already confirmed dead, and this is a real tragedy.
How are your friends who are still in the force responding? How are they handling the loss of their colleagues?
Well, what firefighters and police officers do is they deal with the situation, and they'll deal with the loss afterwards. They're going to need a lot of grief counseling. They're going to need a lot of help. But right now, the firefighters and police officers I know are spending all of their energy and efforts on rescuing people.
One police officer I spoke to today said that there has been a tremendous outpouring of support for them down on the scene, right where they are, as our viewers are seeing on the screen. As they work through sift through the rubble, they carry debris out with buckets in their hands. That apparently, as they've just taken breaks to go get food, one police officer said, he just stopped to get some food and get some water, and somebody, total stranger, walks over and just says, "Hey, can I pay for your meal?"
Well, the citizens and the companies and the restaurants in this city have been unbelievable. I just heard coming in that a number of restaurants have just provided unlimited amounts of foods to the rescue workers. But that's what the city is about. When tragedy hits the city, everybody pulls together to make sure that everybody is supported.
Commissioner Safer, Linda, I want to go to our correspondent, Brett Baer, who's gotten some breaking developments for us. I'm embarrassed to say I don't know where Brett Baer is tonight. Brett, you travel more than most men I know. In Washington for us tonight. Good to know. Brett, what have you found out?
Well, Shep, 2 weeks ago, American Airlines released a memo to their employees saying a warning to be on the lookout for imposter pilots after an incident with a crew in Rome, Italy. At that time, a few months ago, we're told, a crew had their rooms broken into in Rome, Italy. The only thing that was taken were uniforms and ID badges. Now, American Airlines is not releasing an official statement on this. We have this from the crews in this incident. Federal law enforcement officials, however, tonight have confirmed that they are looking at this incident very closely, and they are focusing on this, saying it may have something to do with the hijackings of these 2 American Airlines planes. That's federal law enforcement officials say they are looking into this incident. Again, American Airlines releasing a memo a few weeks ago to their employees saying to be on the lookout for imposter pilots after this incident in Rome, Italy. We are getting more details as the day progresses, but we just had that confirmation from federal law enforcement officials that indeed they are looking very closely at this incident of stolen ID badges and also stolen uniforms. We have heard testimony and statements about how perhaps easy it is to get by security with an ID badge from an airline. Perhaps this had something to do with this hijacking, perhaps not, but federal law enforcement officials saying they are looking very closely at it tonight.
Brett Baer, live for us in Washington. We do know the feds were mighty busy today, executed some search warrants in and around the city of Boston, brought a few people into custody, though to say arrested would be too strong a word. Down in Florida, some search warrants executed as well. Some people now who may have been involved with this, who police and federal investigators believe strongly may have been involved with this, may have actually been trained to fly jets at Embry-Riddle University in the state of Florida. Those believed